Billionaire discovers incredible truth amid his daughter's heartwarming cries. What S revealed will change everything. Ethan Langford, a titan of industry, strode through the glass doors of his luxurious downtown Detroit penthouse. The weight of the day sank heavily onto his shoulders. He flicked on the light, ready to embrace the familiar silence. But the moment he entered, the heart-wrenching sound of sobbing shattered the stillness. His daughter, Lily, was curled up on the plush sofa, tears streaming down her freckled cheeks. "Daddy! Please," she cried, her little voice cracking. "I don't want to go back to school. Some kids are hungry, they don't have food. What do we do?" Each word was a hammer against his carefully constructed defenses, pounding away at the walls he'd built around his heart, walls hardened by years of relentless pursuit of success. Ethan's instincts flared. Pushing through the instinctual irritation, he felt a dull pulse of concern rise within him. "Lily, this is adult stuff," he responded softly. "You have to understand, it's not our problem." Dismissing his daughter's worries with a wave of his hand felt instinctive, pragmatic, but that didn't stop the words from feeling heavy, burdened with guilt. But as he watched Lily's tears glimmer with the stark light of the room, they illuminated the shadows of his own emotional emptiness. She was just a child, and here she was, feeling the unfairness of life in a world cloaked in privilege that he had once thought was just a reward for hard work. He took a deep breath, a knot forming in his throat. How could he justify his wealth when children like her friends suffered? Days melted into weeks, and while he struggled with this realization, there remained a flicker of hope that something must change. One evening, on an impulsive stroll through the neighborhood, he crossed paths with Malcolm, a local veteran who ran a community food bank. Malcolm's warmth made Ethan feel the stirrings of compassion quiver in his chest. Real stories, real lives. "The struggle is real, Mr. Langford," Malcolm said, his voice rich with conviction. "These kids need you." The stories began to flood in, stories of hunger, fear, and resilience. They gripped Ethan in ways he never saw coming. Each encounter was an electric charge, shaking the foundations of who he was and expanding the very scope of his understanding. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But when he stepped into high society chambers to rally support for the food bank, the raised eyebrows and snickers sent shivers down his spine. "This isn't charity, Ethan, it's poor optics," they sneered, leaving him staggered, unsure where he stood in his own life. Torn between his comfortable existence and his daughter's stirring words, the chasm between him and his peers felt insurmountable. Caught in an emotional maelstrom, Ethan had to face the reality that had been hiding in plain sight. The stakes were mounting, as every step toward community engagement placed him at a crossroads. Could he forsake the safety of his gilded cage, and embrace something more meaningful even if it meant losing everything? As he turned back to Lily's tear-streaked face, he felt a crack forming in that wall of privilege he'd built. The question loomed large: who was he really, and what legacy would he leave her? The answers were murky, but the resolve to seek them was unmistakable. Ethan paced the penthouse, the reality of his choices sinking in deeper than ever. The opulent surroundings that had once brought him joy now felt like a gilded trap. Each framed photo of success and accolades seemed to mock him as he grappled with a growing urgency to act. He watched Lily brush away her tears and struggle to hold back sobs. Her eyes, wide and pleading, pierced into his soul. "Daddy, please," she whispered again, this time more quietly, as if the weight of the world had fallen on her small shoulders. In that moment, he realized it wasn't just a plea for help, it was a call for connection and compassion, her innocence contrasting sharply with the harsh realities of life outside their bubble. With a heavy heart, Ethan sat down beside her on the plush sofa. He felt the warmth of her small body, providing a comforting reminder of what truly mattered. "Lily," he said gently, "we're going to do something about this." The determination in his voice surprised even him. It felt like a door opening after years of being locked. As days passed, he found himself thrown into an unfamiliar world. The first step was visiting Malcolm's food bank. Standing in the modest facility filled with shelves of canned goods and donated bags of rice, Ethan felt both gratitude and shame. Gratitude for those who cared enough to donate, and shame for the blinders he had worn for far too long. The faces around him told stories more powerful than any boardroom meeting he had attended. There was Marissa, a single mother hustling to provide for her 2 kids, her hands calloused yet warm as she accepted help. A young boy, no older than Lily, stood by her side, clutching a box of cereal with hopeful eyes. The image of them together was etched into Ethan's mind, sharpening his resolve. After a few days of immersion, Ethan decided to host a fundraiser, combining the power of his wealth with the urgency of community needs. As he invited people from his inner circle, he crafted his pitch, knowing he needed to balance their comfort with a sense of responsibility. "Each child deserves to eat," he began, standing before a sea of raised eyebrows and murmurs at the elegant venue he summoned. "I have lived in abundance, but we cannot ignore the hunger right next to us. I want us to be part of the solution." The room remained surprisingly quiet, the whispers halting. Ethan dared to look into their faces, searching for understanding. But as he spoke, he could feel the walls closing in. Glances of disbelief crossed the crowd, some rolled their eyes, others exchanged secretive smirks. "Think of our image," one voice cut through, a familiar one from the back. "This has nothing to do with..." Ethan sat up straighter, his heart racing. "It has everything to do with us. Kids are going hungry. It's time we stop sitting comfortably while others suffer." He could hear Lily's soft voice echoing in his mind, the raw innocence of her concerns bringing clarity to his confusion. He was done living for the applause of high society. With that surge of conviction, Ethan knew this was his awakening, and nothing would stop him. As he stepped off the stage, he caught sight of Malcolm in the crowd. The glimmer of hope in Malcolm's eyes reignited his fire. "Are you with me?" Ethan asked, turning to see his friend's reactions. There was fear and hesitation, but also something unexpected curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, they were starting to listen. As the uncertainty hung in the air, Ethan waited, craving the momentum to build. A single voice emerged from the back, breaking the tension. "What can we do?" He felt the rush of possibilities unfold, a door opening wider. Suddenly, there was hope not just for Ethan, but for his daughter and the children who waited for help. The journey was just beginning, and the stakes had never felt higher. But would his peers embrace this pivotal change, or would they push him back into the shadows of apathy? Ethan felt the weight of the moment shift as that single voice rang out through the crowd. "What can we do?" It was as if a crack had formed in the wall of indifference, letting a sliver of light seep through. The curiosity in the room shifted towards him like a spotlight, illuminating a path he didn't know existed. He took a deep breath, feeling his pulse quicken. "We start small, but not insignificant. We organize a drive for food, clothes, whatever we can muster. And then we get our community involved, kids, schools, everyone." He stepped closer, his heart racing as he looked into the eyes of his friends, searching for any sign of agreement. "Together, we can make a real difference." Some nodded slowly, while others still wore hesitant expressions. Among them was Claire, a close friend, a force of nature who had always used her influence wisely. She stood up, smoothing down the fabric of her designer dress. "Ethan, I admire your passion, but what about the backlash? People aren't going to appreciate this kind of call to arms. We need to protect our image." His frustration flared, threatening to overtake him. "And what good is an image if it means turning our backs on those who need us? It's time we stop worrying about how we look and start caring about how others live," he shot back, the fire igniting within him again. But could this new fight hold? Claire hesitated, glancing at others who were taking it all in. He could see the wheels turning in her mind. "You're right, and I hate to admit it," she finally said, her voice softer. "What do you need from us?" Encouraged by her words, Ethan forged ahead. "To start, I need names. People to rally the community. Get your staff involved, speak to your contacts. I need you to share this mission not just as a charity, but as a chance to connect." A ripple of conversation spread through the room. Skepticism slowly dipped into intrigue. Friends leaned in, sharing not just their doubts but also their ideas for mobilizing leverage within their networks. Ethan felt momentum build, a sense of unity blooming in the air. Days turned into a blur of planning and emotional turmoil. Rallying his friends, Ethan felt like he was tapping into something truly profound. He remembered Lily's tear-streaked face and how her cries had driven him forward, igniting the spark within him. He shared her story with the group, emphasizing how real their little lives were outside the bubble they lived in. "Every minute we sit here debating our next move, kids are at home hungry," he reminded them, his voice rising with urgency. He could feel the passion within him gripping their hearts. Weeks later, as the fundraiser approached, Ethan found himself alongside Malcolm again, sorting donations that had started pouring in. Volunteers buzzed with excitement, and he could see the spark of hope that began to grow in their little community. "Look at this, we're making a difference," Malcolm said, fighting back tears as he held a box of toys and clothes to pass on. "You're not just changing lives, Ethan. You're building a legacy. What if we could do more?" Ethan pondered aloud, an idea blossoming in his mind. What if we opened a community center? A safe place where children could learn and grow? Malcolm looked at him, eyes wide with wonder. "Do you really think it's possible?" Ethan nodded, feeling excitement pulse through him. "Let us do this." But as the evening of the fundraiser approached, doubts encroached again. Beyond the excitement, he worried. Would his peers stay committed to this cause, or would they fade away as soon as the spotlight dimmed? On the night of the event, as guests filtered in, Ethan felt a swirl of anxiety. Where would this lead them? Would they embrace the change? Or would the allure of normalcy call them back, silencing their newfound convictions? His heartbeat quickened as the doors opened, revealing friends, acquaintances, allies, and maybe even some opponents. Now or never, he whispered to himself. As Ethan took the stage, the lights dimmed, and silence fell heavy around him. Would he find the strength to inspire lasting change, or would this all just be a fleeting moment in time? He could feel the air thick with uncertainty, and with every step he took towards the podium, he braced for the challenge ahead. Ethan looked out over the crowd, their faces a mix of anticipation and skepticism. He could almost feel the weight of all those expectations pressing down on him. Each pair of eyes seemed to ask, "Are you really going to do this?" He cleared his throat, hoping to find the right words. "Thank you all for being here tonight," he began, his voice steady but low. "We are gathered not just to raise money but to change lives." A murmur rippled through the audience, and he caught sight of Claire at the edge of the room, her arms crossed, a frown still on her face. Did she truly believe they could achieve anything substantial? The thought sent a pang of doubt through him, but he pushed it aside. "Every single one of you has the power to make a difference," Ethan continued, a fire igniting in his chest. He shared Lily's story again, painting the picture of a child unable to dream because she was too busy worrying about her next meal. "This isn't just about charity, it's about responsibility. We owe it to each other, to our community, to step up and take action." He noticed several people nodding, their brows furrowing in concentration. He took a deep breath, his confidence growing. "Every donation, every effort, it's a thread in the fabric of our community. Together, we can weave something beautiful." The applause came slowly at first but built in intensity. Overhead lights sparkled as they reflected off shimmering chandeliers, creating a magical atmosphere. Ethan felt a surge of energy. Perhaps this was more than just a fleeting moment. "Tonight," he said, raising his voice to command attention again, "we not only aim to gather resources for our drive, but we initiate something larger, a movement. Who among you will help us create a community center? A safe haven filled with opportunities for every child in our town?" Cheers erupted, and his heart raced at the outpouring of support. Claire's features softened, and for the first time, he saw something like belief in her eyes. But just as quickly, he caught sight of Malcolm, who was slightly pulling away from the group by the back door. The excitement shifted as Ethan's gaze followed his friend. What was wrong? Panic gripped him, but he forced himself to remain focused on the crowd, the hopeful faces that shared his vision. "Let us kick off the bidding," Ethan announced, gesturing toward the auction items, a collection of donated art pieces, handmade furniture, and vacation packages. He watched as paddles were raised high, spirits lifted by the hope pouring out tonight. As the auction proceeded, laughter filled the room, igniting warmth amidst the tension. But right as Ethan thought they could truly do this, a sudden hush fell. The doors creaked open and a figure emerged, striding toward him, a man he didn't recognize, but whose presence felt imposing. Ethan's heart sank. Who was this person? The murmurs began again, his moment of triumph turning into underlying anxiety. The unease in the air thickened as the man stepped forward into the limelight, a smile plastered across his face that didn't reach his eyes. "Ethan," he called out, his voice smooth and cutting through the excitement like a knife. "Is it true that you're asking people for money to build a community center? A noble endeavor, but what qualifies you to lead such an undertaking?" Gasps erupted throughout the audience, and Ethan felt all eyes on him, the weight of the moment crashing down. Was this really happening? How could a night filled with hope twist into confrontation so quickly? A sense of dread washed over him, nerves tightening his stomach. Taking a breath to steady himself amidst the building tension, Ethan faced the man. He had to respond. Would the night unravel, or would he find a way to unite everyone once more? "Let me show you why we're here tonight," he said slowly, his heart pounding like a drum. But in that moment, could he muster the courage to turn the tide back in their favor? Ethan squared his shoulders and sought the strength that had brought him to this moment. "I appreciate your skepticism," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "But this isn't just about me or my qualifications. It's about all of us." He glanced out at the audience, their faces transitioning from confusion to curiosity. "This community has more power than it realizes. We are not just individuals, we are a collective force. Every one of you has a story, experiences to share, and passions to contribute." The man's expression shifted slightly, eyebrows raised in mock interest. "So, tell us about your grand plans then. Why should we believe you can deliver on this promise?" The audience felt the tension mount, an electric current of uncertainty spreading through the air. Ethan could almost hear his heart thudding in his ears. This was his chance to turn things around. He took a slow breath and looked directly into the man's eyes. "Because I believe in hope," he said, his voice firming up. "I believe that together we can give children like Lily the chance to dream. You may be skeptical, but I witness the goodness here every day. I see how we come together when a neighbor is in need. That's the foundation of success." The crowd shifted, murmurs of agreement rising like a wave. Claire's arms slowly unfolded, opening to the warmth and possibility that filled the room. It was a small, subtle victory, but it gave Ethan hope. The man before him didn't seem swayed. "You talk a lot about community. But how will you manage funds? What about accountability?" Ethan clenched his fists, gathering his thoughts. "Every penny raised will be accounted for. I promise transparency. We'll establish a committee that includes community members to oversee everything. You will see how your contributions change lives firsthand. This is not just my journey. It's ours." A tense silence followed, teeth grinding against doubt. Then, a hand shot up amongst the crowd. It was Mrs. Grayson, a beloved figure in the community. Ethan S. Wright. We have always come together to support one another. You remember the winter storm where we all rallied to help our neighbors? It was beautiful. The defiant stance of the man wavered for a moment. Ethan seized the opportunity. This community thrives on shared values, like compassion and support. Can you imagine a space where every child is given tools to chase their aspirations? He locked eyes with the man, refusing to back down. Let us give these children that chance. You, too, could be part of something that goes beyond us. Join us. Be part of the solution. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd, voices rising with confidence. Paddles were raised again, this time more eagerly as optimism fluttered in the air. Ethan felt a warmth ignite within him, maybe they could bring this vision to life. The man, however, still stood unmoved. He studied the crowd, gauging the shift. But Ethan held his ground, urging the audience to expand their vision. Then, as if sensing defeat, the man smirked. We'll see how long this enthusiasm lasts. I'll be watching carefully. Just remember, trust is hard to earn but easy to lose. With that, he turned, clicking his heels as he strode toward the exit, leaving uncertainty hanging in the air like fog. The atmosphere shifted again, but Ethan refused to let skepticism take root. Let us not focus on what other people may say, he urged, addressing the crowd. Let us focus on the children we can empower. As excitement reignited and bidding resumed, Ethan caught a glimpse of Claire. Her smile was radiant now, hope shining in her eyes. Could they truly turn this aspiration into reality? Suddenly, Malcolm burst through the doors again, his face pale and frantic. Ethan. You need to see this. Ethan's heart raced. What news could Malcolm possibly bring that could either build up their momentum or bring it crashing down? Ethan's stomach nodded at Malcolm's urgency. He could see the panic etched across his friend's face, a stark contrast to the hopeful energy that just filled the room. What is it? What has happened? He asked, stepping closer. It's about Lily, Malcolm said, his voice shaking slightly. Something's gone wrong. I just got off the phone with the hospital. Ethan's heart plummeted. What do you mean? Is she okay? Is she? He couldn't finish the thought. The mere idea of Lily in distress made his throat dry. Malcolm ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and haste. It's serious, Ethan. The doctors are concerned. We need to go now. The words echoed in Ethan's mind like a death knell, rattling his hope. Now? But the event he glanced back towards the audience, still abuzz with excitement and determination. Did he just abandon them? Claire stepped closer, her brow furrowed with worry. Ethan, you need to go. This could be important, she said softly, placing a hand gently on his arm. There was strength in her touch, a reminder that family comes before aspirations. For a heartbeat, he hesitated, torn between duty to his community and the gnawing need to be there for Lily. His brow furrowed deeper, and he struggled with his decision while confirmation it was the right path flickered within him. He took a deep breath. Okay, let us go. All thoughts of the gathering faded, overshadowed by the urgency of his daughter's health. As he and Malcolm rushed out, Ethan felt waves of anxiety crash over him. He could almost hear the laughter from the crowd retreating away, swallowed by the weight of his choices. Because this was his reality now. They hopped into Malcolm's car, the engine rumbling loudly as it peeled away from the community center. What did they say? Ethan pressed, clenching the edge of his seat. Something about an infection, Malcolm replied, eyes glued to the road, urgency fueling his speed. They're running more tests, but there's something off. They want to monitor her closely. Panic clawed at Ethan's chest. He remembered Lily's vibrant laugh, her passion for painting, and the way she brought light into everyone's life. She deserves all the chances in the world, he murmured, more to himself than to Malcolm. A lump formed in Malcolm's throat. She will get them, Ethan. You're doing everything you can. You're fighting for her future. Right now, it doesn't feel like enough, Ethan said, his words barely a whisper. As they arrived at the hospital, Ethan felt fear grip him. The sterile smell of antiseptic flooded his senses, overwhelming yet familiar. He jogged through the halls, Malcolm at his side, until they reached the pediatric wing. The scene shifted from the chaos of the auction to the unnerving stillness of the waiting area. Nurses moved about, professionalism evident on their faces. Ethan spotted Lily's bed through a glass window and stopped. The sight of her small body nestled under the sheets tightened the knot in his chest. Lily. He called, half a prayer, half an affirmation that she was alive and fighting. He rushed through the door, the world outside blurring into insignificance. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked at him, confusion mingling with recognition. Daddy? I'm here, baby, he said, kneeling beside her, grasping her small hand in his. Her skin felt warm, soft, yet there was a feeble strength that he wanted to rekindle. Tears brimmed in his eyes, a tide of emotions crashing over him. You're going to be okay. I promise, he whispered, needing to believe it more than anything else. But then the doctor walked in, a grim expression on his face, pulling Ethan from the moment. Mr. Collins, we need to talk. Ethan's heart raced. What could this mean? Were things worse than he thought? He prepared himself for whatever was to come, the weight of the moment heavy on his shoulders. What revelation would unfold in the stark light of the hospital room? With fate hanging in the balance, could this be the moment that changes everything for him and for Lily? Ethan felt a chill run down his spine as the doctor's eyes met his. He swallowed hard. What is it? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Each word felt heavy, as if the air around him thickened with worry. Things are more complicated than we initially thought, the doctor said, his tone measured yet somber. He gestured for Ethan to take a seat. Lily has a severe infection, and it's affecting her kidneys. We need to start treatment immediately, but there's a chance we might need to consult a specialist if her condition worsens. Ethan's mind raced. That wasn't what he wanted to hear. Treatment? A specialist? What do you mean, if her condition worsens? His heart thundered in his chest as he gripped Lily's hand tighter. He was desperate to keep his composure for her sake. We're going to do everything we can, the doctor assured him. But we need you to understand that there's a chance of complications. The next 24 hours will be crucial. In that moment, time seemed to stretch like taffy. Ethan felt a rush of anger toward whatever had decided to play with his daughter's life. His thoughts flashed to Lily's laughter ringing in a park, the sight of her paint-splattered hands as she showed him her latest masterpiece. No, he murmured, shaking his head. No, she can't go through this. She stirred, her small voice breaking through his panic. Daddy? Lily's eyes, still bright yet marred with confusion, searched for his. What's wrong? Ethan forced a smile, though it felt like a fragile facade. Nothing, sweet pea. You're just going to get some medicine to help you feel better. He wished he could absorb her fear, take it away, but he felt so helpless standing by, waiting. I don't want to be sick, she whispered, her voice tinged with the innocence only a child could have. It cut through him like a knife. I know, he said, fighting back tears. The world around him blurred. I'm here, and I want to leave you. He pressed a small kiss on her forehead, a protective gesture he hoped would transfer strength. The doctor returned, clipboard in hand, urgency etched deeply in his brow. We'll start the treatment immediately. He paused, then added, you should get Lily's mother here, if possible. She needs to be involved. Ethan's heart sank. Emily. The thought of reaching out to her felt like a weight pressing down on him. They had barely spoken since the separation, and the last thing he wanted was to open old wounds. But for Lily, he'd do anything. "I'll call her," he finally said, the words leaving a bitter taste in his mouth. "Good," the doctor replied, nodding. "Now, let us talk about what to expect, and I'll answer any other questions you might have." Ethan listened, but his mind was elsewhere. Each diversion brought him back to Lily's delicate figure. The images of their moments together filled him with warmth, yet it was overshadowed by the looming uncertainty hanging over them like a dark cloud. As the doctor spoke, all he could think about was how he wanted to fight for her not just that night, but for every moment that followed. He had to rally for her, to be the father she needed. Finally, with the discussion winding down, Ethan excused himself to call Emily. His heart raced as he dialed her number, the reminder of their fractured relationship weighing heavily on his shoulders. "Emily," he whispered when she finally picked up, her voice sounding distant and uncertain. "We need to talk about Lily." The silence stretched between them as he braced for her response. Would she be willing to come? Would she show up for their daughter? And in that heavy moment, with his heart in his throat, Ethan prepared to face whatever came next. Would this bring them closer, or deepen the rift? What would be revealed in the chaotic aftermath of this night? Ethan heard Emily's breath hitch on the other end of the line. Each inhale felt like a tiny eternity. "What is going on?" she asked, her voice teetering between worry and the hesitation of an old argument. He squeezed his eyes shut briefly. This was just a phone call. It was the road back to a place they had kept apart for far too long. "Lily's in the hospital. She has an infection. It's affecting her kidneys." Silence enveloped them, thick and suffocating. Ethan could almost hear her processing the news, the weight of it pulling both of them down. "What do you mean? Is she okay?" "Not yet," he replied, his voice heavy with emotion. "They're starting treatment, but we might need a specialist." He inhaled sharply. "I just thought you should be here." "I'll be there as fast as I can," she answered, her voice now lit with urgency. "Just don't let her think I'm abandoning her, Ethan." "Not again." His stomach twisted. It had never been about abandonment, it was all of the unsaid things that had drawn an invisible line between them. "You know I would never let her feel that way." "Okay." Just like that, their conversation dropped to a hollow whisper. The weight of their shared past hung over the call, a reminder of the fractures that had led them here. After they hung up, Ethan took a moment to breathe. He stepped back into the room with Lily. She looked so small against the stark white sheets. He shuffled to her side, brushing her hair off her forehead. "Daddy?" she croaked, eyes still heavy with drowsiness. "Is Mommy coming?" "Yes, sweet pea. She's on her way." A chill ran down his spine, realizing that for Lily's comfort, he had to uphold the image of a united front. "You'll see her soon." Lily nodded, her tiny hand clutching at his. "I want to paint with her," she murmured sleepily. As her eyelids fluttered, he felt a pang of guilt hit him hard. All those days spent apart, the missed moments, how cruel life had been. "I promise we'll make it happen," he said, his voice firm as if it could shape reality. He would make sure they had those days again, like their old Saturday mornings filled with laughter and messy paint. It wasn't too late. The door creaked open, and a nurse breezed in, fresh with a calm practicality that contrasted sharply with the vast storm brewing in Ethan's heart. "I'm just checking on her vitals," she explained, a warm smile flashing at them before she took out her instruments. As she began her work, Ethan felt a wave of hope creep in, mingling with the uncertainty. "Can she hear me?" he asked, watching the nurse check Lily's heartbeat. "Of course." The nurse replied, her voice melodic. Kids like to hear familiar voices. It comforts them. "Lily," he said softly, leaning closer. "You are the strongest girl I know. Just keep being brave for a little while longer." Her eyelids fluttered again, but he met her gaze, wishing to pour all the love he had into that moment. "Daddy, promise you'll stay?" Her voice barely made it above a whisper, threatening to dissolve into sleep again. "Always, sweet pea." And in that promise, he understood that his fight wasn't just for her health, it was for their family, both shattered and whole. After the nurse finished her checks, Ethan found his own pulse racing at the thought of Emily's arrival. Would they finally confront the reasons behind their separation? And how could he say enough to bring the warmth back, to mend what had grown cold? The minutes passed slowly. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder, each second stretching into an eternity as he wrestled with the weight of emotions and anticipation. The room felt heavy with worry, accentuated by the faint beeps of machines working to keep Lily stable. Then, suddenly, the door swung open, revealing Emily, breathless and pale. The moment their eyes connected, Ethan felt the air shift. Would they find healing together in this storm, or would the intricacies of their shared history ensnare them once again? "Ethan," she began, stepping into the room like a beacon of both hope and fear. And as their gazes locked and unspoken words piled up between them, Ethan braced himself for whatever revelation lingered in the uncertain air ahead. Would tonight bring them reconciliation, or simply ignite old flames of bitterness? Ethan's heart raced as he watched Emily take a tentative step into the room. The fluorescent lights caught the worry etched on her face, the shadows beneath her eyes hinting at sleepless nights spent worrying about Lily. She was here now, but would her presence mean understanding or just reopen old wounds? "Ethan," she said again, her voice barely breaking through the thick atmosphere. "What happened? How did this all happen so fast?" He looked down at Lily, who had fallen back into a gentle sleep, her small chest rising and falling rhythmically beneath the sterile sheets. "We thought it was just a cold. But then she started complaining about her stomach, and it turned out to be worse than we thought. She needed to be admitted." Emily's eyes turned to Lily, searching. "And you're okay? Keeping it together?" He felt a flicker of resentment. "I've been trying my best. But I could use some help here, Em." Disappointment crept into his voice. After all this time apart, how could he not want her support? She winced at the edge of his tone, pain flashing across her face. "You know I want to, I just didn't expect." "Neither did I," he interrupted, emotions bubbling beneath the surface. "The last thing I wanted was for us to be thrown back together like this." His words hung in the air, full of edges. "But here we are." Emily stepped closer to the bed, her expression softening as she reached out to Lily, brushing her fingers against the girl's hair. "Hey, kiddo," she whispered softly, her voice now laced with affection. "It's Mommy. I'm right here." Lily stirred, cracking open one eye reluctantly. "Mommy?" she murmured, her voice thick with sleep. "Yeah, baby. I'm here," Emily said, a light breaking through the worry that had consumed them just moments before. She looked back at Ethan, and for a fleeting second, the ghosts of their past were brushed aside. In that moment, they both realized that the only thing that truly mattered was Lily. Ethan watched as Emily settled into the chair beside Lily's bed, tension bleeding from her shoulders as she gently stroked their daughter's hair. A warmth bubbled in his chest. He never thought he would see Emily like this, so natural and instinctive, but it was interrupted by a familiar ache of regret. "Do you remember those painting days?" Ethan ventured, breaking into a nostalgic smile despite himself. "Saturday mornings in the backyard, splashes of paint everywhere?" Emily's gaze flicked to him, surprise sparking in her eyes. "I do." She loved those days. "Maybe we can start again," he said, testing the waters. Emily's lips curled into a small smile, but his heart sank at the reluctance in her eyes. "Ethan, I don't know. It's been so long. What if we're still a family?" He interrupted gently. "We owe it to Lily to try." Their eyes locked, and in that instant, something shifted between them. But just then, a raspy cough escaped Lily's lips, pulling both their attention back to her. "Mommy, I'm tired," Lily whispered, through labored breaths. "Rest, baby," Emily ran her fingers along Lily's arm. "You've been so brave. Just sleep." As Lily's eyes fluttered shut once more, Ethan realized how much he missed this being a family. How fragile and precious this moment was, weaving threads of hope between them. But just as the air felt lighter, a doctor stepped into the room, her expression serious. "Ethan, Emily, we need to talk about Lily's test results." They straightened immediately, heart rates climbing as uncertainty washed over their faces. What could possibly be wrong? Ethan felt Emily's hand brush against his, a reminder that no matter how fractured their bond had been, they faced the storm together now. As he looked into her eyes, he understood it was no longer about what kept them apart. Now, it was about standing strong for Lily. What awaited them in this discussion would either push them further apart or draw them into a deeper connection than they ever imagined. "Please, let it be okay," he whispered to himself. Would tonight open doors they thought were long closed, or would it shatter them further? Ethan's heart thundered in his chest as the doctor's words hung in the air like an impending storm. "Lily's test results show that the infection has spread. We need to act fast to prevent further complications." Those words fell on Ethan like a heavy weight, squeezing the air from his lungs. He stole a glance at Emily, who mirrored his shock, her face a mask of fear and determination. They were teetering on the edge. This news could either crush them or force them to confront everything left unsaid. "Doctor, what does that mean for her?" Emily asked, her voice steady but laced with urgency. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to hear good news but felt the specter of dread creeping back in. "We're recommending immediate hospitalization for intensive care. It's serious, and we need to monitor her closely," the doctor replied, her tone apologetic but firm. Ethan felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. "Is there anything we can do?" he asked, desperation punctuating every word. The doctor nodded. "We'll start treatment right away and keep you updated as we go. Your presence will help her. Can we stay with her?" Ethan forced out, clinging to the hope that their mere presence might somehow make a difference. "Yes, you can both stay as long as you need. It's important for her emotional well-being." The doctor turned to look at Lily, who was stirring slightly on the hospital bed, her face pale but peaceful. "Let us do everything we can to rally behind her." Ethan's heart swelled at that. In this moment of uncertainty, he found solace in the idea of family, even a fractured one, coalescing around their daughter. Emily squeezed his hand, a warm, reassuring gesture that sent a jolt of electricity through him. They were united in this. Hours melted into one another as they took turns comforting Lily, reading her favorite stories from childhood, telling her about all the things they would once again do together. The laughter and bonding moments, once mere memories, felt like lifelines. They were fighting together, and that realization lit a spark in Ethan's heart. "Mommy," Lily murmured, eyes fluttering open to meet Emily's gaze. "Will I get to paint again?" Emily swallowed, her voice trembling but resolute. "Of course, sweet girl. As soon as you're better, we'll have a painting party together. Just the three of us." Ethan nodded, feeling his heart lift at the possibility. "And I'm going to build you a community center, so kids like you can have a place to paint, to dream." Lily's eyes sparkled at that, even through her haze of illness. "Promise?" "Promise," both parents said in unison, the word filled with renewed purpose and sincerity. The night wore on, and as the clock ticked, the world outside receded. They talked, laughed, and even shed tears for the times lost. Each moment stitched a new thread into their bond, as they recognized the urgency to fight for their family, for Lily. When morning came, hope surged through Ethan like bright sunlight bursting through clouds. After a long night of fear and worry, they could finally see a way forward. The doctor returned, bringing news of the initial treatment results. "She is stable for now, and we're cautiously optimistic," the doctor explained. "We'll need continuous monitoring, but both of you have done an incredible job being here for her. Keep this connection alive, it's vital. For the first time, Ethan felt the weight of uncertainty lift, even if just a little. Will you both commit to being involved in her care and recovery? The doctor inquired, eyeing Ethan and Emily with encouragement. Absolutely, Emily replied without hesitation, her eyes bright with determination. Ethan felt a swell of pride, as if this was the beginning of not just healing for Lily, but a healing for them too. In the days that followed, the hospital turned from a place of fear into a sanctuary of love and hope. They stayed by Lily's side, reading books, filling her room with vibrant colors and laughter. Each shared moment rekindled memories of their once happy family life, something they had both longed to feel again. And with every inch of progress Lily made, Ethan and Emily found themselves drawing closer together. They talked not just about their daughter but shared their aspirations about rebuilding their family, about community, and about creating something lasting for others. As they prepared to leave the hospital with Lily, now healthier and stronger than when she was admitted, Ethan made a vow. This isn't just about you being better. It's about us being whole again. And this is where we start. Together. Emily nodded, her face radiant, unshed tears shining in her eyes. Together. Determined, they left the hospital, walking hand in hand with Lily. The sunlight pierced through the clouds, illuminating a new chapter, waiting to unfold. And as they stepped onto the bustling street, Ethan inhaled deeply, the scent of fresh air filled with promise and new beginnings. They would build that community center. They would make those painting sessions happen. And they would weave together a future richer than any amount of wealth could create. In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of renewed connection and hope, they knew that despite every challenge, they would thrive together. This was their transformation, darling, dismantling the walls of isolation that had kept them apart and building a family full of love, resilience, and shared dreams. Now, dear friends, as you feel this transformation unfold, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support for the journey we embark on together. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Let us share our hearts. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment for us to connect and uplift one another.